There it is. Well, you've just walked past table 21. The greats, Moss, Walker, Todd, many others in this room. How does it make you feel?
Yeah, it's a huge honour. I think I was very fortunate when I was a young boy to have some family that were playing waffle footy in its heyday, and I think what I certainly remember from a young age is the players like that and the calibre of those people that were shaping the game. And I think if you talk about Toddy, I had Toddy on a wet night one training session after East Perth where he kept me out there for another couple of hours, and we were working through some contested marking in the wet, and I suppose from then to see such an icon of the game, to actually want to spend time and try and develop, and a young kid from the country, and so for that table, for everyone in the room, I'm grateful for the career, the way they've shaped the game, and hopefully I carried it on at some stage that they can say that as well.
As mentioned, fifth midfielder, playing in a dynamic period for the football club. You were incredibly resilient. You played, I think you averaged 21 games a year from the time you started to the time you finished, and playing the role that you did. Why so? What was it about the Dean Cox body that got you through?
Oh, it's probably genetics. You probably got to ask mum and dad that a little bit, but no, I was really fortunate to, first of all, to spend time at East Perth at a great footy club that had a lot of history and family history. When you talk about Michael George and Richard and Eddie that spent a lot of time there, and then to go to West Coast was a dream come true for a young kid. I barracked for them as a little boy, and to be able to get the support off field in relation to the medical staff and try and get the best out of your body was something that I was forever grateful for. And I was fortunate that I didn't have too many serious injuries, and the injuries I had we could probably manage and get through and continue playing.
Tonight you share the Hall of Fame status with a couple of teammates who, I think it was four years, I think three of you won the club champion back-to-back. And they are legends of the game in all very different parts of the game, aren't they? I mean, one yourself was fairly out there, one is a bona fide superstar, and the other one who's pretty much the unsung captain, and was given the captaincy in 2007 as an important time for the club to rebalance itself and realign itself. You must be chuffed that tonight they're also being inducted.
Oh, for sure. I couldn't speak highly enough of Chris and Darren. When I first got to the football club, I got there the same year as Darren. Both country kids, and to see the way he shaped his career, but also shaped a lot of people around him, was a true testament to the character that he shows. And I think one thing that when you look back, you always knew you're in safe hands. Glassy was behind you. He'd get the job done, and that's what he did for a long period of time. And then for Chris, to be able to do what he did, and I think people see his brilliance at a level which is not too many people can do what he did on a football field. But the work that he put into his game, the time he spent, and the attention to detail to get the best out of himself, what made him that player. And I was grateful that I got to play for him, with him for a short period of time. Well, would have liked to have been a little bit longer, and then for Glassy for majority of mine and his career was something I'll always remember, and they're still close mates to today. 2005,
2006, very different years in regards to emotion. You had the footy at one end, kicking it down, and Leo Barry does his thing, and then you're famous for that vision of throwing the arms back on that boundary throw-in. I'll tell you a small story. Channel 10 had the countdown clock back then, and they told me there's 5 seconds to go with the boundary throw-in, and I was saying...
You could have let us know.
And I couldn't let anyone know, and I'm sitting there saying, if you give away a free kick, dickhead, we're in real trouble here. So, because they were charging. But seriously, the difference of emotion in 12 months' time for you?
Oh, for sure. I think one thing, I ended up on the same spot of the ground 12 months apart.
Yeah.
And to get the complete different feeling, we spent so long trying to build to winning a premiership and to fall short, and then I suppose the regroup and the ability for the playing group to bounce back as well as we possibly did, and to get there again, and then to get the complete opposite is the ultimate. And that's why you play footy. You want team success. right from the outset, you want to make sure that you're trying to do your best to help the team. And we had 22 players and a whole squad that actually did that year, and we were fortunate to be the premiers at the end.
Last couple for you. Frequent flyer points. Did you rack up a few over the journey?
Yeah, we got a few.
How many did you get? Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
Done the history?
No, I'm not sure.
Did it take you around the world? Family
the club
holiday?
they were fortunate. They were very good that they flew and had to pay themselves for a few of us to fly business. So I was lucky I was over the
Did that prolong your career,
the threshold.
to be honest? Did that prolong your career, business class?
I'm not sure. I think one thing, it probably certainly helped me, but I think one of the things is everyone talks about, do you travel, but you get on a plane, you go, you do your job, and that's what you do. I enjoyed getting on a plane. I enjoyed getting away from interstate to try and prove that we were still a really good team in a hostile environment. And, I think that's certainly what West Coast did this year, and I suppose every interstate team wants to do is they want to try and make sure that they can play good footy away from home.
Last one for you before I allow you to thank a few people. You're now in Sydney. You're now involved in the coaching. You're involved in coaching at West Coast. How different is football in Sydney in comparison to where you're put on a stage here in Western Australia over your journey? What's it like now in Sydney?
It's a lot different. I think one thing about Sydney is rugby league takes a massive part of everything over there, and the way that the footy needs to operate is to continually try and build the game, but also there's been a huge investment, obviously with GWS there, but also what the Swans do with their academies and to try and promote the game as much as possible. It is different to here. They haven't been brought up with loving footy like I did, and that's probably the biggest challenge, is to try and get that into a young group at primary school or early high school, is to try and embed AFL when NRL's surrounded with everyone. So that's a challenge, but they're a good organisation to work for. They've been successful for a reason, just like the WA teams.
I know you've had family come down tonight. I know you've got a number of influences in the room over the journey, Dean. I'm sure you'd like to thank a few.
I think, first of all, I'd like to thank the East Perth Footy Club to be able to give me the opportunity to come down from the country to try and have an AFL or let alone waffle career at the stage, and how accommodating they were with the move and the transition, and an 87 kilo boy, so I'm 89 at the minute, but might be hard to believe, but so I think what they certainly gave me to start with, and then to West Coast, I think, you see and you want to, when you first get to a football club that you barrack for, you want to make sure you can earn the respect, train and do whatever you can. But from there, it's about trying to leave some sort of legacy. And I think what West Coast certainly did for me as a person is I rocked up as a young kid and I left a better person. And I was fortunate enough to represent the great footy club for a long period of time. And then to flip over and to work with them, and I owe them everything for everything that they did for me as an individual, and also for my family. And I think my family, I think when you talk about the sacrifice we mentioned before, but what your mum and dad do, my brother I was always that competitive with. From a young age, we try and beat us at everything, which probably held me in good stead for a footy career. But what they did, so they do everything for you and expect nothing in return. And I'm forever grateful for what they did. We've got a really tight family, which is a really good thing. I look at now with a couple of girls, is to say that the McCalgics and obviously the Cox, but the McCalgic side over in WA were always there for me when I first moved to Perth, to, for George to try and set it up, and then obviously the relationship I've had with him for a long period of time, and the way him and Rita helped me throughout the early part and throughout the whole stage was phenomenal. So I'll never forget that. And then, the other brothers that, I stay really close with, and some Dampier mates that I regularly catch up with. I'm grateful that they get to come down and spend some time, and then your wife that puts up with a fair bit. So, she's been a rock behind me for a long period of time, and hopefully will continue to do so for a long time. So thank you, Kerry.
Congratulations. Welcome to the WA Football Hall of Fame. Dean Cox.
Thanks very much, guys.